Welcome in, everybody. Guess what, Brian? Oh, you look like you're frozen, like you got to sneeze right
Oh
now.
no.
Brian is calling in on location, sneezing apparently. But the answer to the question was,
Um,
oh my gosh, Brian, I have no idea what's going on over there, but that was brutal. Welcome in, everybody. It is game week. We have a game coming up on Thursday, so a couple days away. Brian is frozen in sneeze mode. No idea what's going on over there, but he'll get his life figured out. He is currently dealing with the move that you all know he's got going on. So not sure what's going on, but he's in sneeze mode right now. So go Little Red. What's going on? Bone Leg Corn Fed first in here as usual. Andrew Anderson, if I could talk. What's going on, man? Mike, what's going on, Mike? Appreciate you hopping in here. And never mind me, gentlemen, it is game week. It, in fact, is. We got a good preview coming for you today. Brian, I'm going to remove Brian because he's still in sneeze mode. So I have no idea what's going on there. Hey, never. All right. So first off, I want everybody to drop your predictions in here. Let me know what you're thinking about game week, how you feel everything's going to go. What are some of the matchups you're looking forward to? I put out a poll on X, and the poll was, if Nebraska comes out, wins the toss, who do you want to come out and set the tone? Do you want the offense come out, score? Do you want the defense to come out and, get a stop? And actually, believe it or not, 68% voted offense. So we got, never mind me, Skurs by 17. I like that prediction a lot. So actually, I think Brian just texted me. So hold on. Un momento, por favor. Let me see. All right. So while he's figuring that out, let's just go ahead and dive into a little bit of our preview here. Nebraska 41, Cincinnati 14. Nebraska 40, 10 good guys. I'm going to go ahead and come out with the Blackshirts first. So let me go ahead and just go ahead and give you all the list of Blackshirts here as they were announced yesterday. Got Brian hopping back in here. What's up, man?
Not much. I went outside, so I apologize in advance, everyone. Cicadas are really prominent right now. They're really loud, so I hope it's not bothering anybody.
It'll be all right. Make it work. It's not that bad, actually. So
Okay.
going over the black shirts right now, just running down the list. We got Cam Lynn, Hart, Elijah Judy, Javen Wright, Dason McCullough, Marquez Watson, Trent Sierra Wright, Marcus Buford, Malcolm Hartzog, Deshaun Singleton, and Andrew Marshall. So there was talk about Cam getting it, Williams Wanery not having it. Of course, I think they talked about this. More people are going to get him as the season goes along. I guess that leads us to believe that maybe Cam is the de facto starter right now. Again, it's an or on the depth chart. So, and a lot of times when there's an or on the depth chart, sometimes, let's see, if they're going by, I don't know. I know when there's an or on the depth chart, in a lot of cases in alphabetical order, it's in no particular order, but I have no idea if that checks out in this case. But,
offensive tackle, it did not.
Okay, cool.
For sure on that offensive tackle.
Cool. Got to go to the store and buy my spread items. Oh, by the way, I saw earlier that they got there was some Culver's thing, if something about a Minnesota game that you get free cheese curds on something.
Interesting.
I'll send that over to you. So, what's your take on the team taking a bus down to Arrowhead?
It's a 2.5 hour drive. I literally make it, before I moved to Texas, I literally drive it every single weekend going to Lincoln for games. It's an easy drive, guys. Not a big deal.
Yeah, not that bad of a drive. And again, I'm thinking, I've seen it's 60,000 Husker fans to about 6,000 Kansas City fans expected to be there. And Nebraska getting a lot of love, man, coming into the season. Have you noticed that?
I have. I don't know if you saw that CBS thing they did with Raiola and Deshaun and all them.
All of it. Yeah, I didn't get to watch all of it, but I watched part of it.
And that is something that didn't happen last year. It probably, if the hype around Nebraska isn't somewhat believed nationally, that interview, whatever you want to call it, probably doesn't happen, in my opinion, because that's something you typically see with a school that's, going 9-3, 10-2, 11-1. So I think nationally people are probably hitting that over on the 7.5 right now.
It's that point where, they know that Nebraska is a hot topic right now, and they know that whether the comments are pro-Nebraska or anti-Nebraska, that they're going to get the conversation stirred up. So, you get Riley and those guys on there. And again, I saw a video of the Barstool guys yesterday, like basically arguing about Nebraska being their sleeper pick for the playoff. They're calling them a scheduled team, but even then, calling us a scheduled team is a compliment, because that's something that nobody would have been willing to call us in previous years. Nobody would ever call us a scheduled team because we couldn't handle business on the schedule. So now that we're even being seen as that coming into the season, in a way, it's almost like I really wish the outside opinion was that Nebraska is going to kind of be what it was last year, so that way everybody can't come in and all of a sudden be like, I told you. You know what I'm saying? Right before the season start, it just seems like everybody's kind of hopping on that wagon of it being the popular pick.
Yeah, and you watch, if I say this, carefully, if Nebraska really takes care of business on Thursday, you're going to see that bandwagon just pick up steam, I think, because there's a lot of people that you see that with the 6.5 point spread, like 80% of the money's on Nebraska, but that line has been holding steady the entire time, which tells me that they're probably thinking it's going to be at 6.5, 4-point game, maybe closer game. If Nebraska blows the doors off, that frickin' train is going to be rolling.
Yeah, I think the line might move maybe closer to 7 by kickoff, maybe. But no line movement yet. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do think if there's any movement, it's going to be in Nebraska's favor, because the majority of the bets are coming out on Nebraska. But yeah, so it's interesting to say the least. Because again, it was like this off season when Nebraska was making moves. It's like we didn't hear a lot of the hype outside of the normal stuff we would hear from the normal guys. You got your JD Piquel, who's usually pretty complimentary of Nebraska each and every year. You got your guys like Joe Klatt. Joe Klatt tends to be pretty favorable in his opinions about Nebraska. But those guys were typically the ones. But then as the seasons come along, it's just like all this influx at the end is just kind of like a lot of Nebraska conversation. So
I think last year Joe Klatt had us in, what do you say, going into Ohio State, Nebraska would be 7-0 or something like that.
That was, and that was kind of the popular conversation around that early slate. I always knew we were going to slip one of them up. I thought it was going to be Rutgers. I'd predicted it'd be Rutgers, but yeah. So like that was now, that was I think that was the common. I think Joe Klatt's one of those that just likes traditional power, and I think he wants Nebraska to be back. I really think a lot of it is just like he really desires that Nebraska to be back, even though he was a Colorado quarterback. But yeah, I think it's where a lot of it comes from. So, all right. There was another thing I was gonna. So we had the Blackshirts. There was one more thing. Oh, shout out to Fedoni and Bullock for making the roster. Shiloh got cut. Bullock made the roster. Crazy, flip from when he came on to Nebraska to being, on a roster as a linebacker in the NFL. Absolutely insane.
I'm not overly surprised by John Bullock. Of all the UDFAs that went out of Nebraska this past draft cycle, he was one that I wasn't confident would make a 53-man roster, but it doesn't surprise me because of how hard he worked at Nebraska. Keep in mind, he started as a safety, converts to a linebacker, 2 years ago? And started both years. I mean, he played phenomenal. I really like John Bullock. And even though he's a little undersized for your traditional NFL linebacker, he's going to be mostly on special teams. But that's a huge role in the NFL.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like you'll get signed specifically just for special teams in the NFL. 100%. And there was a clip, yesterday that kind of bothered me, and I'll pull it up here. It's Steve Merrick posted it, but like it's little things like this that let me pull this up on the screen here. Hopefully there's no copyright. I'm going to keep the sound off. But just this quick little clip here. Okay. So you see that there, right? But the thing that bothers me,
fumble, right?
Well, he forced the fumble here. The thing that bothers me about this, spotlighting the play here on the right side, like where he's just kind of sitting still, and I love the carry back over, but people are talking about just like his coverage on this play too. This was set up. Whenever they were motioning this H back across, every single time they were coming out of this formation, they were using this formation in so many different ways. And they used this guy a lot. They would bring him across. He would either crack the block. He would come out here. And if y'all remember correctly, there was one drive where he came across and cut a pass in the back of the end zone. So Bullock was like trying to cover down for, there was a lot of guys out of their assignments in a lot of cases, and team defense wasn't very good in this game. And so they kind of had him on his heels a lot in this game. And they were kind of, going to that side a lot because they were really trying to confuse, him and get him out of position. And this is just one of those instances where it's like if he's able to just react and read based on how the play is coming across and be able to read the play, normally could probably disguise it. But since the defense was on their heels so much and he was having to cover down space for different areas throughout the game when I was watching the film, kind of got him on his heels. And, that was where that was in the few instances, where I saw John Butler. Because remember, John Butler's PFF grade coming out early in the season was really high, like the highest grade through, I think, the first like 3 or 4 weeks. But I think, part of his issues last year were him trying to, make up ground and cover down for a lot of guys. And so I think he's a lot better than he even got credit for last year when I was watching the film, because I was very, very high on him throughout the season. And, maybe his numbers didn't show it in some cases, and some plays, didn't show it. But in a lot of cases, like, it was literally him trying to do the job of another person as well as his.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times you'll see on busted coverages or even a busted run play, it's because someone else did their job wrong, and someone is, instead of doing their assignment, filling in for that. And that play was a perfect example, like you mentioned, because he has to cover down. But there's another clip where it shows him doing his assignment perfectly, and it won Nebraska the football game. And that was against Colorado on the pick six. In that moment, granted, it was super early in the game, but I think that was that moment where everyone knew, we're about to roll their asses. And it was because they had, I don't remember who the receiver was. I think it was Hunter. I might be wrong. But they had him on a little hitch route, and Bullock stuck to his assignment and covered the route perfectly. And that's what led to the long boundary throw. And it's because of his execution. And, you'll find that throughout the year, throughout his tape, where he does everything at a high level. His pick six against Purdue, perfect positioning.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and, again, shout out to Fedoni as well. Played excellent. So played excellent. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the Cincinnati, Nebraska preview. What do you say?
Hell yeah.
So we got Satterfield, name we love all too well in this team, and Matt Rule going at it. I think Satterfield's also in his third year, if I'm not mistaken. It's at least what I have on my notes. Nebraska's offense last year, of course, 94th nationally. Cincinnati was 97th. But completely different philosophies in their schemes. So now, of course, Nebraska's probably going. I'm assuming Nebraska's going to come out and get heavy. Probably heavy use of 11 personnel, maybe 12. But I think they're going to come out maybe 10 or 11 personnel, which is one running back, multiple receivers, and kind of RPOs early, maybe to keep the defense kind of honest, maybe some bubbles, some slants, some quick, hitting stuff. And I think they're just going to kind of come out and try to get that tempo going to limit mistakes. You get out and you get that tempo rolling, kind of get in a flow early on. You limit those mistakes early on, and you kind of keep yourselves ahead of the sticks, and you get that early momentum, from the early momentum is important, because it just automatically gets the defense on their heels if you come out and you got tempo, because then they're not able to set up. They're not able to communicate as effectively. They're trying to hurry up and figure out what our offense is doing. And if we got a lot of movement and stuff like that and quick hitting routes, it's going to be hard for them to cover. So, it's more player input, or kind of quarterback input. So I do like that Rilo is going to be able to kind of get up to the line and probably have a couple plays to choose from and be able to, select his protection, those type of things, and that's really going to keep the defense on their heels. So I think it's important to just really get out and start hitting quick, but also get that run going in the tempo as well. I think the first drive is going to be pretty balanced unless we come out and take a shot early, which I think we might do, kind of similar to what we did against USC. But yeah, I think they're just going to try to really just overwhelm this secondary and use the depth that we have at wide receiver effectively. And then just hopefully Raiola, we're able to see kind of that deep ball refinement. And I just think he's going to look a lot more calm and poised. But yeah, so I'm expecting just a lot of quick hitting stuff early, come out, establish quick pass, come out, establish a run. And then from there, you have a whole playbook of stuff that you can use your disposal to tinker around with.
I'm 100% agreement with you. In fact, I think the first handful of plays are going to be getting the ball out on quick slants or maybe, quick out route or even a screen to Dane Key, to Isaiah Hunter, just because they're new to the team. It's a newer environment for them. It's going to help them just kind of get in the flow of the game really quickly, especially when you have playmakers like that. You always want to figure out ways to get them involved naturally in the flow of the game. And then I think one thing too is Nebraska's going to test that secondary from Cincinnati. I think there is a size advantage, a pretty distinct size advantage at that, and also a skill advantage, both in favor of Nebraska. I think they're going to test them often and early. And, some people, I get questions, like, what do you think the run pass percentage is going to be in this game? And I think, just in general, every game is dictated by what the defense does. And Dana Holgorsen is an expert at taking what the defense is going to give you. And Coach Rule, I think last week, was talking about Cincinnati's defense. And he's, mentioned they play deep coverage. They try and keep everything in front of you. Well, that's what Dana and that's what Dylan are probably the best at, is just quick throws, getting the ball out in space.
Agreed. And the interesting thing is going to be how Cincinnati's D responds to that, because last year Cincinnati's front seven was very, very good, right? The back end, the secondary, very weak, very shaky. So they tried to portal the DBs in to kind of correct that, but it's still their soft spot, right? And of course, we talked about Dante Corleone, at nose, three-time all-conference guy. We talked about his size before, just a big old 330-pound dude monster, right?
Yeah.
But you can kind of scheme around an elite nose tackle if your interior offensive line is up to the task. And I think our interior offensive line is going to be a strong unit. And I think they're going to be able to rise up. And I think the biggest thing is, like, what he's going to try to do is he's going to try to take on as many people as he can. So if we can win against him with one guy, two guys at most, that'll really help, because then that helps keep them on their heels. They can utilize this, because then their linebackers are going to have to step up and be able to try to make some plays. It's going to keep them a little more on their heels. Whereas, look at Nash Hutmacher's job last year. His job as the nose was literally to just take on as many blockers as possible. That's why a lot of what the nose does doesn't show up in the stat sheet, because just trying to get people on him and wreak havoc. So we don't have to dominate the ground to win, but we're going to probe, early and try to test that inside run. And I think if you can really find cracks on the inside in the run game early, they're really going to go to panic mode, because that's their strength,
Yep. I was talking with my dad yesterday. We're talking about this game, and Corleone, good player, if not a great player. But I don't know what else they have on that defensive line. And I think you can get away with double teaming him and just wearing his ass out by double teaming him and just running at him. Make him make plays. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a guy where there's some defensive players like Sue, right, where you avoid. I don't think he's a guy where you have to strategically avoid in your run game. In fact, I think you exploit it by running it at him and making him, be conditioned well enough in game one to make an impact. Because after 3 quarters, 25 plus rush attempts, and say 15 of those are right at him, he's going to be worn down.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm really curious to see the approach, because again, Holgorsen hasn't run straight air raid in a long time, right? at Houston, with I believe it was Kevin Sumlin. He had like zone reads, like motions, tempos. Oklahoma State, like he had the diamond formation, QB, out in the shotgun, running backs flanked, one deep. Um, you know, Kendall Hunter gashed 1,500 yards, 5.7. West Virginia, like it was like a Rich Rodriguez zone read options, because we talked about how many rushing yards as some of those West Virginia teams had. Multiple threats, versatile tight ends, inline slot, H-back, utilization of the H-back. That's what Illinois did a lot in that game. That's what I was pointing out. Last year, he kept, a lot of the framework of Satterfield's offense, but just streamlined it. Mixed routes better. I'm
having technical issues again. Not having Wi-Fi sucks, so if you can hear me, I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yeah, you're good. But yeah, talking about like just the air raid concepts of four verts mesh, like those type of things are baked in there, but he also has a lot of other things because he's worked with so many different offensive minds. So I'm just curious to see what kind of mixed bag he comes out with. Didn't overhaul the terminology completely last year. So it was easier to adapt and reteach the team. And now the language across the board, is the same. We do have some players, but I think what we've talked about before is the messaging is so consistent across the board. So I also think we can expect maybe some jets, like jet sweeps, some swing passes, something that feels like some kind of edge runs. But I think it's going to be kind of 50-50. If we're kind of throwing the short pass game a little bit in as kind of a run equivalent, I think it's going to be about 50-50 in terms of the play call. So change moving, short yard situations. Brian's back in. Hi, Brian.
Hey, sorry. I have massive trees in my backyard, so they block the signal. I'm moving tomorrow, everybody. Problem's almost solved.
I was just rambling a little bit while you were gone. I figured you pop back in. But yeah, I was saying I think it's going to be about 50-50 if you include the short run or the short pass as kind of a run equivalent. I think it's going to be about, otherwise I think it'll be about 55-60% pass. But yeah, chains moving, short yard success, loosen them up. Just body blows, then go for the knockout punch. Gas the inside early, and it's a wrap. I think if we attack the inside early and we could establish that middle run, I think the game's over.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think what separates this team more so than probably the last handful of years is I think you have legitimate playmakers at the skill positions. And I'm not talking like the one-off play every 6 games when you throw an 80-yard bomb to Malachi Coleman like they did against God knows who a couple years ago, but consistently week in and week out, there's legitimate playmakers on the outside and in your backfield. And I think if you can hit a few home runs in this game, you put them on their heels right away, put them in a situation where offensively they have to throw it more than they want to. And everyone knows they don't want to throw it. So Nebraska, I think, hammers it early, stretches the field, and they blow the doors off late.
Now, let's go ahead and flip it over a little bit to the Cincinnati offense and the Nebraska defense, kind of breaking those two down. So, Scott Satterfield style, pro style spread, kind of heavy RPO, zone read type of elements. It's more of a balance, but still up tempo. They try to aim for like 70 plays per game, mixing inside outside zone, play action passes. The focus is to just the new playmakers to kind of address last year's bottom Big 12 rankings for them in TDs, points, yards, stuff like that. So I'm expecting them to come out like a lot of 11 personnel, use a lot of motions and try to get create as many numbers mismatches as they can. Rutgers, Kirk Shiroka, Rutgers offensive coordinator, that's what he's big on. He likes to go and get just more people on that side than you can handle, right? And just overload and then try to create matchups, advantages based on sheer numbers and personnel. So I think they're going to try to do something like that. Maybe try to get the pocket moving, some bootlegs, intermediate routes, to the tight ends. But Swornsby last year, 18 touchdowns, 7 receptions, 445 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns. So, they do have a 1-2 punch. The running backs, Tyree Walker, and Evan Pryor. So and with Big Ten experience at that, those guys. So they do have Big Ten caliber running backs back there. They do have a decent tight end in terms of pass catching, is reliable, but a lot of those new wide receivers. So it'll be interesting to see how Sorsby kind of adds those guys in, and how they balance out his legs versus kind of bringing those playmakers into the picture. But I think it's going to be pretty balanced attack. They lost some guys last year, so we'll see. It'll be interesting to see their approach too with those guys out there.
I think their skill talent is better than people realize. I think their tight end's a phenomenal tight end. Not great in the run game, which Coach Rule or Butler alluded to. They said he's an above average or an average blocker. But the running back Walker played at Wisconsin last year, I believe. Had 54 yards rushing against Nebraska on 20 plus carries. He did nothing that made me worried, but I still think he's a formidable back. Wisconsin didn't have a great line. Their outside skill guys, we don't know a ton about. I know they got this big transfer from Lindenwood at wide receiver who's like 6'6", like 230, 220, pretty decent speed, but a big physical mismatch for Nebraska. We don't have anybody that size except for maybe Deshaun Singleton that can cover him. Just from a size perspective, from a skill perspective, I think we'll be okay. But their offense is what worries me the most about this game, because I think they do have legitimate talent that can compare to Nebraska. But here's where the difference is, in my opinion, is I don't think they have a good O-line. And I think we don't know a ton about our defensive line, but we know a little. And I think we have a better D-line than they have offensive line. And I think we have better linebackers, not only coverage linebackers, but blitzing linebackers, guys with speed, lateral agility, etc., that are going to help our defense kind of essentially win that matchup against Cincinnati.
100%. And one other thing about Cincinnati's offense, like I talked about, they do have those new, like the versatility, the new weapons at the wide receiver and the running back position. However, those are a lot of new pieces. So the floor is very low for this offense if the transfers come out and underperform early on. Nebraska really has that high ceiling, and the offense could explode for 30 plus points per game. And that's where this game could really turn on its head. But yeah, as long as Nebraska can protect, I think the biggest thing is for Cincinnati's, they're going to rely a lot on that running back duo and a lot on the tight end, as to just be able to get consistent target going. But they did lose some of their top proven talent. That doesn't mean the influx of talent they have. The guys they have now are super, super talented. It's just an unknown. And it'll be interesting to see the chemistry there between Sorsby and those guys. So, but Nebraska coming out, naturally, if Nebraska can really come out and be able to take it with a three-man front, and kind of get those guys on the edges, free, I think that's going to be huge for us. If we can somehow try to figure out a way with that three-man front to just really utilize and free up a lot of our guys as much as possible. It might morph into more of a 4-2-5 against like RPOs and stuff like that. My dog, sorry about that. But it's going to be really hard for them with the disguise coverage, simulated pressures, how many linebacker DB hybrids we have, kind of in there. That's a nightmare. I think we're going to see a lot more aggressive man press coming out in the secondary. And I think it's going to be a refined version with adaptability against the run, but I just think I think we're going to be very, very aggressive. We talked this a lot at this. We're going to come out and hopefully come out and just maybe man press and kind of get those guys off their rhythm, those playmakers early. If we can get those guys timing disrupted and get them off their rhythm, then, that's going to be what causes those growing pains. So, can we come out and just be able to, stop Sorsby? I think that's the biggest thing is, the element of his legs. I think it's the biggest thing that's scaring everybody right now, because he's a legit dual threat guy, he's a big dude, 6'3", 235, like tough to bring down. And
he ain't sliding either.
some weapons. He ain't sliding. No, he has
No.
some weapons, but he can exploit, on keepers and scrambles and really open those guys up. So if our front has to potentially shift inside to help the run, he might be able to see lighter edges, read options or broken plays. But the good thing is we have a deep battle tested kind of secondary linebacker core that kind of blanket passes and let the edges and linebackers focus on containing the run. And so if we keep lanes and our gaps and everything disciplined, like we could rack up a lot of negative plays. And I think that's going to be the trick early.
Yep. I was thinking about like strategy wise, for this game as a defensive end, kind of how you attack a quarterback like this. And I don't know if this is a game where you need your DN flying off the edge, getting sacks, where you just need to more so worry about his legs and containing that edge, not letting him get outside and scramble. I think a lot like, if you're blitzing and you do a spin move or you try and climb back inside, that's when he's going to roll outside behind that. And so I think a lot of the defensive ends are going to be holding that edge and letting your linebackers roam free. Let them go make that play. And you're just kind of holding up that tackle, holding up space while you're trying to maintain the edge. And then, just to backtrack a little bit on like a devil's advocate where, and you mentioned how they got a lot of newcomers at the skill positions and how they gel and whatnot. And, people say, Nebraska's got a bunch of newcomers, right? They have Dinky, they have Rocco Spindler, they have Isaiah Hunter. I think the difference between why we say how they are going to gel with Cincinnati versus Nebraska is Dinky and Isaiah Hunter last year had over 100 catches combined, over 1,800 yards receiving combined. They're proven at the Power 5 level or at the Power 4 level. These guys they brought in at Cincinnati are not. And so that's why I'm not worried personally about our newcomers versus theirs because they've proven it. Even Rocco, I mean, the guy was a starter on a national champion runner-up.
Yep.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and we got newcomers on defense too, like Williams Warnery. I think he's going to be a big part of this because you got a guy coming off the edge at 6'7". I mean, good luck just trying to throw it over his outstretched arms too. So that's going to help against the mobile quarterback. But I agree with you when it comes to the weapons. It's like our guys are really, really, really proven. And I mean, we're talking about Dane Key right now. If he was going to be projected for the draft, probably 3rd round pick next year. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, Georgia wanted him.
Yeah, exactly. And then looking at our newcomers on defense, man, I'm excited for that. I talked about Williams Warnery, of course, but also looking at the Jack linebacker spot. We talked about that a little bit before, but we thought maybe Willis McGahee would step up, into that role after flashing as a true freshman, but him being 3rd on the depth chart behind Dasan McCullough and Jordan Ochoa, and I'm going to be optimistic about that and just say I think it means we've upgraded with McCullough's experience and Ochoa's growth more so than McGahee's regressed. But I think our setup roster scheme, our edges and everything, I think they're tailor made to be able to contain this type of quarterback. I really do.
Yeah, he's not a guy where if you get 4 sacks, great, but he's not one of those quarterbacks that's going to allow you to do that. He's going to roll out, escape the pocket. When he gets outside of that is when you're in danger and how you combat him, because he's going to do it a lot, I think. I think we're going to handle him up front. I think it's going to be a big thing in the game. It's his scrambling ability. How you handle that when he gets that second part of the play. What do you do? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, and then talking about, we talked about it or just touched on a little bit, but we can go a little bit more into that inside run game for Cincinnati versus our interior defensive line, which has been a topic of conversation this offseason. But, like I talked about before, we Nash App MarkRogersTV's job was to wreak havoc in the middle. Him and Ty, of course, were anchors for us up front. They took on people. They let the other guys behind them fly around. Lost Jamari Butler to LSU. We lost some guys. No way around it. But again, I think we have a lot of confidence in the guys that we have now. So we look at Elijah Judy and RVP up there. Those are going to be our nose tackles. And then if one of them can clog that, the A gaps by himself, helps us stick to that base 3-man front. Our ends can kind of do what they do. The heart of a 3-3-5 was kind of to let that happen and keep those, he wanted to keep kind of some of those core ideas intact. But if Judy or Van Poppel get pushed around, then we have to shift stuff around, slide ends down in, and they're not, they're going to eat doubles with the nose tackle, and they're going to be just caught up and not be able to just free roam. So to help everybody be able to do their job better at every single level, the important test early is those guys not getting pushed around up there. Those guys being able to hold their own and draw attention. Hold up, guys, draw attention, free your Cam Linhart's up. And so they can just go out there and Williams Winery on a one-on-one, Cam Linhart on a one-on-one. Let him go out there and do his thing,
Yeah, and the more that they can do that, the more protection they have to add, which means their pass-catching tight end who's really good might have to stay in and block more. Or instead of releasing a running back on a swing route or a choice, whatever type of route, right? He has to stay in and block because your defensive ends are wrecking havoc while your defensive tackle is just clogging up the A-gap, like you mentioned. There's a lot of things that happen off of that as a result.
Yep. Yeah, not only if Nebraska can establish the inside run game early, but also if they could shut down the inside run game early, then I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys. Making sure that and just getting confidence in our guys on the inside there, getting confidence in those guys that they're going to be able to come out here to be able to handle a team like this, is really important. So I think it's going to be a good, really early test for those guys. But I think they're up for the task personally. I just think I think those guys are really, really good. And I think I have a lot of confidence in them now.
Yeah, I'm still kind of in a wait and see with an optimistic point of view, an optimistic outlook, because you saw flashes last year. And like we said all last season, the biggest concern right now is just proving it. None of them has proven this at a high level consistently. Even Cam Lenhart, had a little bit of a down year last year. Elijah Judy, that's going to be the most action he's seen in a Husker uniform on a consistent basis. So it's about going out and proving the talent you have is real. And I think they're certainly up for the task, but we're going to find out for sure about 8:15 on Thursday.
Boy, can't get here soon enough.
No.
Let's talk a little bit about the special teams. So, of course, our favorite new offseason coach acquisition, which is saying a lot, considering we've had good offseason coach acquisitions, finally get to unveil the special teams. So, and again, in close games, special teams becomes even more important. So we're trying to aim for kind of that reliability that we haven't had in years. And Cincinnati's trying to rebuild their special teams completely. They got all new starters. They got new competition brought in there. They changed up some coaching. They got a new transfer punter. And then they got again some new talent, some high upside talent, but unknown, just like we do though. So
isn't that crazy how eerily similar our two programs are right now?
Very much so. Yeah, because for us, I think the biggest thing is going to be improving our kick returns and our kicking in general. And it's that unreliability. I think if we just see some sense of just some consistency, man, that's all we need this season. I just want to see some consistency. But again, Cincinnati's kind of in a whole rebuild of their special teams as well. So in Nebraska, if we got to compare the coaches, I like the Nebraska side there. Yeah,
Eckler's got a pretty damn good track record too, so that helped. Also, shout out Kyle Cunanan, the starting kicker, place kicker. So that's good. Glad we got him. My concern is he was just as consistent as John Hole or Tristan Alvano when they were the starters. And, that's it's not great. They're okay. What is his next step in his, game look like at Nebraska? Can he be a guy that's drilling consistently from 40 plus? I mean, that's my goal, 40 to 45. If you're consistently drilling those kicks, I think we'll be okay.
Exactly. Let me go ahead, and I wanted to do this. I forgot to pull this up before the show, but I wanted to kind of go through week one, and let's make some picks.
All right, let's do it.
Let's make some picks. I want to go through week one of the season here. So we'll start with Thursday's games. So let's see here. Can I filter this by the Big Ten, or should we go through? Let's just go through the games here.
I think there's a big game on Thursday night at the same time we play.
So let's see. Saturday's games, by the way. Surprising occurrence where Iowa State beat K-State. That was interesting. UNLV versus Idaho State was a really, really good game. All right, moving on down. So we got Boise and South Florida, Rutgers, Ohio. So of course Rutgers is going to win that. Let's see what other if we got any good games. Minnesota, Buffalo. Minnesota's probably going to win that.
Gophers.
You got Wisconsin versus Miami of Ohio. Going to win that.
Oh,
Nebraska's
that could be a weird game.
Looking at which one?
Miami of Ohio and Wisconsin. I don't know how good Wisconsin is. I mean, they signed Luke Fickell to an extension in the offseason, and he's proven nothing.
Old Ben Roethlisberger's alma mater. Didn't he play at Miami of Ohio?
Yes, he did. Yep.
Friday, August 29th, we got Michigan State taking on Western Michigan. Illinois is taking on Western Illinois. How do you feel about Illinois being ranked 12?
I think they're deserving. I think, people have been calling them like the dark horse team in the Big Ten. I don't view them as a dark horse. They returned like 19 starters on a team that went 10-3.
How are you ranked 12 and you're a dark horse? Somebody
that too, yeah. I don't. ESPN analysts, which are trash most of the time, but yeah, they say they're the dark horse, and I'm like, they're already in the playoffs at this ranking. I like them. I like them a lot.
Top 15 team's not a dark horse. A dark horse is somebody that comes out of nowhere. These
like Indiana.
These terms are being completely misused nowadays.
Yeah.
Like Indiana. We got Colorado at Georgia Tech. That'll be an interesting game. I saw
Georgia Tech
earlier. They had Georgia Tech 37, Colorado 30. So that'll be interesting. Sam Houston, UNLV. All right. Saturday. Here we go. This is where we got some good ones. Ohio State, Texas.
Give me Texas.
Thoughts? Let's go. I'm curious to see what the FBI. So line is minus Ohio State minus 2.5. Where do I click? Is it
basically a pick 'em? You get 3 points for being at home.
Yeah. So Texas, according to the ESPN analytics, 53.3%, 46.7% for Ohio State. Yeah.
I think this comes down to an Archie Manning question, really. Is he as good as they think he is? Because we didn't see him a ton last year, and what we did see, he was okay. He was up and down.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Arch Manning's going to be a damn good quarterback. I just have to side with the team that kind of has been in the big games, more often, more recently. And I'm going to give the leg up here to Ohio State. I think it's going to be close.
Texas I do think Texas is going to win because I like their team a little better.
Yeah.
And Julian Sayin first start, and it's this big of a game. I mean, that's a lot for a freshman.
That is tough. That was my only reservation was Julian Sayin, because I do think Arch is a much better quarterback, naturally. I think but yeah, I think it's the big game. Ohio State, they just kind of are used to the lights being bright. And but also Ohio State does have a track record of losing early tough games.
Yep.
Their national championship season, they lost that opener to Virginia Tech. They came out, what was it, like 3 years ago, and they got down by like 3 or 4 scores to Oregon, came back, but it was a little too late. They had let themselves get down by too much. So Ohio State does lay eggs early on the season, but you take Texas last year versus Michigan. Did Texas beat Michigan? I think.
Yeah,
I believe so, right?
I think so. Is this game a big noon kickoff? I can't see the time on my phone.
9 a.m. Well, that's
9
my time.
a.m.
Oh, yeah, my time. My fault. That's my time.
Fuck. Texas by 10.
So 11 a.m.
Yeah, Ohio State and big noon kickoffs do not get along. And when Nebraska has always given them a run for their money when we shouldn't have been able to, is these 11 a.m. kickoffs.
Yeah,
give me Texas. 100%.
I mean, Texas has had one good year. I need to see it more often. We're talking about Ohio State, like, oh, they don't show up in these games, but that's because they've been put in these games because they've been good.
Yeah,
Texas
that's true. It
really hasn't been. So yeah, but it'll be interesting. I don't necessarily disagree. I think Texas is a very, very strong team, dude. I just think it's the tried and true. Actually, one of the arguments I hate is just picking people because, like, oh, they've, that's how it's been, and I'm going against my own philosophy there. So, and it's kind of rooting for the Big Ten in a way.
Yeah, I hate Texas. I hope Ohio State wins.
Yeah, me too. Being from Texas, I do hate Texas pretty severely. Navy playing VMI, whoever that is.
Who is that?
I don't know.
Vermont something maybe.
I don't know. What is look at this logo, bro. What is happening? Looks like the YMCA. I don't even know what this is, dude. They're the cadets. They're the cadets. Hold on.
The cadets?
VMI. No, it's with a K. Keydets. Virginia Military Cadets. But it's not spelled like cadets. It's Key, like DETS. Cadets. But it's a Virginia Military Cadets. I have no idea what's happening there. What even is that? Indiana versus Old Dominion. You got Penn State versus Nevada, Georgia versus Marshall, Florida State versus Bama. Do you think Florida State gives Bama any trouble?
Fuck no.
Did you see who's starting? Mr. James Williams. You don't think that's going to cause problems for Alabama?
Dude, if I'm Alabama, okay, I love James the Husker. That dude does not know how to stop the run if his life depended on it. And so if I'm Alabama, I'm finding number 90 and I'm running it at him every freaking play. He's so small for a defensive end, and he's got a big mouth. They need to shut his ass up.
The problem was he was so open and honest about how the fact that, like, he's smaller and needs to, like, take so much more punishment during the game. Like, that's almost a bad thing because then teams are just know they can wear you down and attack you.
But also, like, why aren't you putting on the weight then?
100%. Exactly. Yep.
Because Coach Rule just said Jamal Charles.
Jeremiah.
I
wish he was Jeremiah
Charles had a surgery that basically made his stomach bigger so he could put on weight.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Isn't it? It's like reverse bypass shit.
That's crazy to me because, like, for me, like, I had to eat like 6 meals a day to bulk up, like, for years. I still eat like 4 or 5 times a day. But, like, I had to, like, force feed myself. And, like, I had to, like, expand my stomach by just force feeding myself. I didn't know there's surgeries out here where they can just do it for you.
Wild times.
That's kind of crazy. Texas A&M versus UTSA.
Shout out Nate Borkature.
Shout out Nate Borkature. Yes, sir. Clemson versus LSU. Now, Clemson's very interesting to me this year. Very popular pick, Clemson, for the national championship. And I'm not I guess maybe I'm not on board with that because it's Clemson,
Yeah. Sorry, I had some trucks driving by.
Oh, you're good.
So I do like Clemson, but I think Klubnik's good. I don't think he's a Heisman winner like people are saying. And I think part of their hype is Cade Klubnik being perceived as this Heisman Trophy potential at quarterback.
Yeah. Klubnik's good. Don't get me very, 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 very good. But, like, I just don't know what has pushed them into this. Like, if we look, maybe it's their schedule to an extent because their schedule is very easy. I did look at their schedule the other day, but they have LSU open. But look at this. We got Troy, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, North Carolina, Boston College, SMU. Gave them problems last year. Duke, Florida State, Louisville, Furman, and South Carolina. Like that schedule
Okay.
is so easy.
Syracuse, I think, is going to be decent. They can push them. South Carolina is going to be a top 10 team, probably.
Yes.
But,
SMU,
they don't have a tough schedule. SMU will be decent.
But like this is an easy schedule, bro. Easy. Your toughest team is number 9 in the country. You have 3 preseason ranked teams. 3.
Yeah.
So that could have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, they can easily get through at, say they lose to LSU and South Carolina, but sweep everybody else. That's completely realistic expectation.
100%.
And then you're 10-2 conference champion.
We are really
now, Feinbaum, shut up, bro. Question being, who do you got here?
Yeah, with that said,
I'm gonna go Clemson.
I was just saying, with that said, I'm probably picking Clemson.
Hey, you got to.
I just don't know what LSU's got this year. I mean, Jamari Butler's a backup. I know that, but that's it.
Yeah, I think Clemson. I think the quarterback, albeit Klubnik, is so experienced. Coming out week 1, I just don't think this is going to phase him too terribly much. And so I just think they're better suited to win this game for sure. But it's going to be it'll be a good game.
LSU last year, week 1, got beat by USC, and then they blow like a 21-point lead or something like that late. Which tells me that it may not be a permanent thing, but it tells me that they weren't ready.
Yeah.
In a sense, where you were able to just completely collapse like that. So are they going to be ready this time around with a much better team in week 1?
Yep. Agreed. Looking through a few of the other games here. Let's go through this. We got Michigan, Texas Tech. Nope. See if there's any. I know there's a good game coming up here in a second. Arizona State versus NAU. Arizona versus Hawaii. All right, right here. Boom. Sunday. We got, a couple good games. Virginia Tech versus South Carolina could be interesting. But we got Notre Dame versus Miami. Now, how are you feeling about this one? Notre Dame's a -2.5 favorite. And it's
really?
in Miami. It's in Miami.
I'm going to take Notre Dame because they have a better coach. And I also think they have a better quarterback.
More depth.
I think Carson Beck is incredibly overrated.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be close, though. I wouldn't be shocked if Miami's leading and Notre Dame comes away with it late.
I'll say Notre Dame by touchdown, kind of. Yeah, I'll go with that.
But also, Miami's notorious for their fans not showing up to games, even big games.
That's what I'm saying. Their home field advantage is non-existent, basically.
Yeah.
That's
what
are you guys doing a post-game show? All right, cool. So are you guys doing a post-game show on Thursday and a call-in show on Friday? So we are going to do are we wrapping our call-in to our post-game, right?
Yeah, we'll kind of do like a post-game that folds into a call-in show after we do some recap.
Yeah, and then who knows? I may even do a call-in show on Friday as well.
You never know. Yeah, my dad said my dad's going to the game, so he can give us a live report from the stadium.
Let's go. Yeah. I'm there for that. Let me go through some of the comments here. We're kind of coming up on the end of the show. So we got Husker Wrestling. What's going on, Joseph? Appreciate you hopping in here, man. 38-13 Huskers. I love the predictions here. We will know fairly early Thursday in the game how this team will do. Exactly. Yep. Christian, what's going on, man? Appreciate you hopping in here. I only care about one thing: score more points in Cincinnati. That is the goal. Colorado handled Cincinnati pretty easy last year. Which of these teams had improved more? I think Nebraska has. Team will never lose a game. Yeah, that's nice. I hope we never lose again. Cincinnati might be a decent Big 12 team. Bring it on. They have the potential. It's just so many unknowns, but they do have a lot of upside potential. Talent Nebraska, coaching Nebraska, crowd Nebraska, Nebraska 50, Cincinnati 10. I'm here for that. Kickoff cannot come soon enough. Thank God it's a Thursday game, not a Saturday. Saturday's slate is loaded with good games. It is.
Here's the thing people aren't talking about enough.
What's that?
Nebraska in season openers against Power 4 teams, they've lost the last 6, I believe. And they've never, in the last 10 years, covered the spread.
That's crazy.
Which I think this team's way different than those years past.
Mm-hmm.
That's when historical data kind of gets a little blurry, but it is kind of weird. Like, we were, I think, 11-point favorites against Northwestern. We blew that game.
Trends were made to be broken, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then I forgot to read this one out. Sticking with my prediction for last week's show, 45-16. Go Big Red. All right. We'll kind of remember our predictions from the big game too. The big games, and then we'll kind of we'll come up with a record on those, just to have a little fun with it. So all right, well, that'll do it for us here. Brian, thank you for fighting through the struggles on your end. Appreciate your due diligence here. And everybody, he will no longer be homeless soon. Okay. So
yeah,
he will.
I've set the internet to be we close on our house in Texas on Thursday at 3. The internet guy is going to meet us there at 5, so that I will have internet. I will watch the game. We won't have issues with connection because I'll have my Wi-Fi back.
I was about to say the timing is kind of balls to the wall here. It's really
close.
Cutting it close, but I know you're not going to let that happen.
100. I'm too committed.
Great show. Appreciate it, David. Yeah, y'all tune in Thursday immediately after the game. As that, I'm clicking live as soon as that game goes 0, because other people have created post games, stepped on my toes when they knew I did post games. Again, never letting that one go. Never letting that one go. Somebody else had started the post game on after telling me they wouldn't. So I go live right after the game. So if y'all want to tune into my
one good post game show, it's ours.
Yeah, it is. Let's be honest, guys. Y'all know that already, though. So tune in here. We're gonna have a lot of fun. But I do like some other channels. Husker Online guys do a good job. Corn Crazed, I believe he does post games as well. He has done them, but he usually does them kind of an hour or so after the game, something like that. So, but y'all got to tune in here first and foremost. You already know what it is. So, all right. Well, anything else, Brian, before we conclude the show here?
Huskers by 1,000,000.
I love it. Is that your official prediction?
Yeah, Huskers by 1,000,000.
Huskers by 1,000,000. You heard it here first.
The mortgage on it.
Yeah, he said put his mortgage on it while he's homeless. That's a bold claim right there.
Yeah.
While he's homeless. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, we got football coming up on Thursday. So we will see y'all in the post game, hopefully after Nebraska win. But with that being said, we'll see y'all there. Peace.